too many people. Raise it to the 4 millionth power, too many apes. Okay, there's no way. It's impossible. There's hundreds of more evidences. The genetic load in man, too fast. Carbon-14, sorry, shouldn't be there in 250 million years. Carbon-14 in diamonds, can't be there, that's impossible. You mean the Earth's atmosphere is not in equilibrium yet and proves the atmosphere is less than 10,000 years of age? Another topic. And when they do date these things with all kinds of dates they tell you about, they throw away out of the textbooks the ones that don't fit their theories. And we're talking about the dates using different dates on the same rock. Now, in the last few years, we've measured helium diffusion out of zircon crystals. What does that mean to you? Okay. What it shows is some of these radiometric rates were thousands of times faster in the past. Because the helium shouldn't be there, folks. Polonium halos, rate change, and there's all kinds more. Their theory is nothing but Hollywood. It's just not science. So when you run across a science book that says millions and billions of years ago, it's their religion. They're using our tax dollars to push their religion on everybody, and their religion is a blind religion. Those in the churches of Christ, we do not compromise on God's word, but we also test God's word, and we find it to be true. Even in the denominational world, they show that 75% of all the kids who grow up and go off to college, within 1 year, 75% of them walk away from any belief in God. How are we doing in the churches of Christ? About the same. We lose somewhere between 70 to 90%. I would assume your percentage here are a whole lot better because you're not going to public schools. You ought to go home tonight and thank your parents over and over and over that you're not exposed to the lies that would cause you to turn around and live a life of just misery. You know what it's like to try to live the world's viewpoint of how you should live? It's misery, folks. You see, there's all kinds of evidences out there prove the age of the earth is less than billions of years age. There's only a few methods they can come up with, very few of them that they make up. Say, well, you know, we'll use uranium to lead here. How come it disagrees on other things? They got a few that give old ages, the majority give younger ages. Remember, even the evolutionists admitted there's no reliable long-term clock. Now, remember what we said earlier? Remember the cartoon at the very beginning? How can you believe the Bible? The Bible isn't reliable. Scientists have answers to show the Bible isn't true. Remember what he did, folks. Here's what he did. He is, without knowing it, admitting, we used to be wrong. Now we know we're right. Oops. Well, we used to be wrong on that one. Now we know we're right. Oops. We used to be wrong on that one. Now we know we're right. Oops. Now I agree with this one. I still disagree with the Bible. That's what they're doing, folks. They're admitting they were wrong. Every time you see an evolutionist say, hey, we found new evidence for such and such, they're admitting their conclusions were wrong before. Take a look at the age of the universe. Remember I told you, hold on to that number, 18 to 20 billion years ago? That's in the textbook in the early 1990s. 18, they say, we know precisely when the universe was formed. It's somewhere between 18 and 20 billion years ago. What do they say now? Go to Wikipedia. Here's what they say today, folks. 13.7 billion years plus or minus 200 million. So that means it's between 13.5 billion years old and 13.9 billion years old. Is that the same thing as 18 to 20? No, folks. They now are admitting they were wrong before. Wait a second. In 1992, they were absolutely sure. Today, they're absolutely sure they were wrong. It's a Hollywood story. Now we got a test for you. You didn't bring pieces of paper or pencil? Oh, okay. We'll try it this way. We're going to try to brainwash you. We're going to go over here. We'll get some silly soap, some Darwin silly soap. We're going to poke it right through your ears. Okay? We're going to brainwash you. Let me see. Now, I don't want anybody to call out the answer if you think you know it. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to ask you 2 questions at the end. Once upon a time, a man left home jogging. He jogged a little ways and turned left. He jogged a little ways and turned left. He jogged a little ways and turned left and jogged on back home. As he was jogging back home, he noticed there were 2 masked men waiting for him at home. Here's the questions. Number 1, who were the masked men? And why did the man leave home jogging? Don't blurt out the answer. Just raise your hand if you think you know the answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now the rest of you I've got brainwashed. And they might even be wrong, so they might be brainwashed. I don't know. I have got you totally brainwashed. But I'm going to help you out here. I'm going to tell you the story again. And I'm going to give you a hint on one of the words that'll help you figure it out. Once upon a time, a man left home jogging. He jogged a little ways and turned left. That's the key. That's the hint. He jogged a little ways and turned left. He jogged a little ways and turned left and jogged on back home. As he was jogging back home, he noticed there were two masked men waiting for him at home. So the two questions again. Who were the masked men and why did the man leave home jogging? Anybody else think they figured it out? Okay, so we got most people brainwashed. Here's the beauty. I'm going to unbrainwash you in less than 10 seconds. And you'll never be brainwashed by this again. This is going to immunize you against this brainwashing. Let's tell you the story again. Once upon a time, a man left home jogging. He jogged a little ways and turned left. He jogged a little ways and turned left. He jogged a little ways and turned left and jogged on back home. As he was jogging back home, he noticed two masked men were waiting for him at home, the catcher and the umpire. And I guess he left home jogging because he hit a home run. You see, when I started out the story, I said, once upon a time, a man left home. Practically none of you got the image of home plate as even a possibility, right? You built a house, apartment, whatever else, that's home. You put on jogging clothes and you went left home. That's what your images did in your head. And that's what the evolutionists do to you. What's a missing link? Oh, I think you're going to love that lesson. Cavemen and missing links. It implies there was something missing. That's another issue for another time. You see, without this brainwashing, without that Darwin silly soap, evolution wouldn't have any chance. They have to make up a story of billions of years because it's outside your comprehension. That number has to be so big they can slide all their dirt underneath it. Raise the carpet and look underneath there. It's pathetic, folks. There's our quick review. This thing would have rotted long before those layers could be laid down around it if those layers took millions of years to lay down around it. Their dating techniques get different dates for the same rocks or structures such as this. The oldest desert in the world is less than 4,000 years of age. All the rivers have less than 30,000 years of river sediments where they dump into the oceans. And everything would have eroded down to sea level in 14 million years. Doesn't take long for flow stones to form. Niagara River is eroding backwards. Doesn't take millions of years to swallow. And the Bible tells us how old the earth is. And we can turn around and figure it out for ourselves. You see, they can make up these stories. Amoeba, to jellyfish, to fish, to reptile, to up here, to lemur, to monkey, to man. It's just a Hollywood story. It's nothing to do with science. And our warning once again, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy. Vain deceit, tradition of men. Run your tests. Prove all things. Hold fast what is good. What do they start with? They start with a false reality. They think matter can come from nothing. Then they think this matter can self-organize itself into more matter. And they think that matter can self-organize itself into life. And they think it can evolve into man. That's a false reality, folks. It's impossible, according to science. And yet they make up a story that sounds good. Put it in the small child's textbooks before the small child learns to question anything they're being taught. And it hides any of their scientific flaws. That's what the Darwinian theory is all about. What is that similar to? A Hollywood science fiction writer. Isn't that what a Hollywood science fiction writer does? He starts with a false reality, aliens, Star Wars, Superman, Spider-Man. He starts with a false reality. He comes up with some sort of plausible sounding story. And then he turns around and hides any illogical or scientific flaws that would turn you off. And then he sells you a movie, okay? No. It's just a Hollywood story, always has been. See, evolutionists change their story every few years, and they got many different theories. The Bible hasn't changed for over 2,000 years. We know from the beginning of creation when it was, and we know it was in 6 days. And we know there's a reason for it as Christians, and we're going to hold on to God's word. But remember I told you every New Testament writer referred back to that book of Genesis, of beginnings? I'll show you just a few of them. I'm not going to read them all. Take a look. We're up to 15 right now. Noah to Adam, flood, Noah and the flood. Now we're up to 30. Now we're up to 40 some. Now we're up to 60. I mean, Noah and his household, construction of the ark? Yeah. they refer back to that book of Genesis. You see, in Psalms 118:8, it turns around and reminds us, it's better to trust in the Lord than to put your confidence in man. And then we're warned, what? You're going to call Jesus Christ a liar? I don't think anybody would ever be calling the creator of the universe a liar. Isaiah 66:2 says, if you want God to look upon you with favor, then you had better be someone who trembles at his word. My question is for you. When you go off to college, are you going to be trembling at man's word? Or are you going to be trembling at God's word? And for the age of the earth, what's wrong with the way God said God did it? For in 6 days, God made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and all that is in them.